Shalom family, welcome to today, Shabbat Shalom. Tonight we enter into Sabbath, and I thought that on Fridays it would be cool if I start doing a devotional that incorporates this week's Torah portion. And so this week's Torah portion is Genesis 18:1 through 22:24. And there is a lot going on. We have Sodom and Gomorrah. We have Lot's wife turning into salt. We have two daughters who get their father drunk, and they end up raping him, and they both get pregnant, and it's the birth of the Moabites and the Ammonites. We have Abraham telling the king that his wife is his sister, but actually his wife really is his half-sister. And so there's a lot. There's a lot there. And I didn't watch Game of Thrones, but from what I hear about Game of Thrones, I think that the Bible can give Game of Thrones a run for its money. Anywho, we're going to go a way different route, and we're going to talk about Isaac. Isaac is Sarah and Abraham's son. And Isaac actually means laughter. So we're going to look at a few passages that explain why Isaac's name is he laughs. Okay, so the Bible first mentions laughter in regards to the birth of Isaac in last week's Torah portion. Genesis 17:17 says, Abraham fell face down. He laughed and said to himself, will a son be born to a man 100 years old? Will Sarah bear a child at the age of 90? In this passage, God has just changed Abram's name to Abraham. He changed Sarai's name to Sarah. And God is very clear that a son named Isaac will be born from Abraham's wife, Sarah, and that the Lord will establish his everlasting covenant with Isaac. Then, in this week's Torah portion, we find out that Abraham might not have told his wife Sarah this, because 3 strangers show up at their tent, and when Sarah overhears them telling Abraham that she's going to have a baby, it seems like it's new news to her. In Genesis 18:11 through 12, we read, Abraham and Sarah were already very old, and Sarah was past the age of childbearing. So Sarah laughed to herself as she thought, after I am worn out and my Lord is old, will I now have this pleasure? So we will come back to that, but spoiler alert, they end up having the baby. And after Isaac is born, Abraham and Sarah, they're very joyful. And we read in Genesis 21:6 through 7, it says, Sarah said, God has brought me laughter, and everyone who hears about this will laugh with me. And she added, who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? Yet I have borne him a son in his old age. So obviously this story has a happy ending for Abraham and Sarah, and it's through Isaac, it's through them. It's through Abraham and Sarah that Isaac is born, and the Jews begin, the story of the Jews. So when I read these passages, though, I think about a problem that a lot of husbands and wives face, and that is infertility. I think of the sadness and disappointment Sarai and Abram felt throughout the years, unsuccessfully trying to have a baby. I think of all the prayers they must have prayed. I think of Sarai's cries to God, asking if, God, can you hear me? I want to be a mother. Can you hear me, God? We've all prayed those prayers. Still, the couple continued trusting God and holding on to hope. I imagine the stress they must have felt as Sarai got older and older and closer to the age of infertility, and then their despair when she was finally unable. Their heartache over broken dreams until Sarai, at the height of her desperation, offers her slave to her husband so that she might have a family through her. But that too just brought Sarai more heartache and even added anger. I don't imagine that there was much, if any, laughing in the midst of their trial. But then, when she's 90, God says Sarah will have a baby. And what's her knee-jerk reaction to this news? She laughs. Did she laugh in disbelief? Was it scoffing? Maybe it was a nervous reaction as suppressed pain resurfaced. Whatever it was, God made sure Sarah knew He heard that laugh. He wanted her to take note of her own reaction, and He wants us to take note of Sarah's reaction as well. God wants Sarah to know that He heard every prayer. He bottled every tear. He felt her heartache. He understood her anger, and He was with her in all of her pain. This overwhelming desire Sarah had to be a mother was the desire God had placed in her heart. Even when she didn't think He heard her, like how she didn't think that He heard her laugh, He wanted her to know that He heard her all along. All along, He knew His plan for her would turn her weeping into joy. He'd make her not just a mother of one baby boy, but a mother of nations. Then she has the baby. She waited for all this time, and she laughs again. But this time it's a big, boisterous laugh that I believe was amplified by her friends and family that prayed alongside her when she wasn't having a baby, trying and not able to have a baby in her younger years. Isaac is an answer to their prayers as well. Their laughter is evidence of God's faithful goodness. God wants us to know that He hears us too. Just as He did with Sarah, He will turn our mourning to dancing. Be encouraged, family, that your tears and heartache is not wasted and it doesn't go unnoticed. God hears you loud and clear, and His plans for you are greater than the pain you are enduring and the weight. I love you all. Have a restful Shabbat. Shalom.